To put it in some context for the viewers, this is a 5-layer embossed feather pattern individually packed toilet paper. This is a gift for you. But
Oh, is it for me, bro?
Yes, Resh.
Wow, thank you so much, brother. Hey guys, welcome to our next episode of the Modern Wealth Podcast, where we aim to empower, enrich, and help evolve your lives to the next level. We have some amazing guests who come through to share principles on business, investing, finance, health, and today we have an absolute rock star. He's a brother from another mother. He was a secondary school friend of mine. He's a world champion. A record breaker in his industry, a top sales guy. Dude, this guy is the top 1% in business, right? And I cannot wait to introduce him. He's my brother from another mother. His name is Shing. Shing, say hi, brother.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Shing. Thank you for the very kind words, Resh.
Amen. Dude, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Give the guys some introduction, like who you are. Tell us a bit about yourself.
All right, so my name is Shing. To the audience out there, I won't say how old I am this year, but I'm relatively young and a relatively fertile age. Yes, I'm in the financial services industry. I've been in this industry for 3 years, right? And yes, like you mentioned, very fortunate that as of this year, I've already qualified for Top of the Table 2024. Wow. So to put it in some context, right, we hear MDRT a lot in our industry. It stands for $1 Million Roundtable. So for the typical $1 Million Roundtable producer, they typically take home about 80 to 100K every year, right? So a TOT producer is 6 times that of an MDRT producer.
Holy shit, brother. Very nice, very nice, very nice. That's amazing, bro. And that in just 3 years.
Absolutely. I think these 3 years have been an interesting and long journey,
okay,
but I think we'll get to that later.
Wow, incredible. Dude, okay, before we get into all that right? One thing I really believe is that, top achievers in life, there's always some level of foundation, right? There's some level of foundation, there's some level of like grit that was built early on, right? What was that for you, bro? Right? If you can rewind back, when was the first, tenets of, these qualities being built in you?
In terms of grit?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So maybe I'll just rewind my life to somewhere in secondary school, right? As you know, I went to NJC, which is National Junior College.
Yep.
And a fun fact to the audience out there today, my O-level score was 13, 1-3. And NJC's cutoff point is typically about 4 or 6.
Yes.
Right? So I think this was a very pivotal moment of my life. I think a lot of things started at this stage of my life. So back when I was secondary 4, right, at the end of secondary 4, typically there is an organization that organizes a camp at our school, right? And the organization is YMCA. So YMCA, they hold a camp for the intellectually disabled, right, at different venues throughout Singapore. So that year it happened to be at our secondary school, right, which was St. Gabriel's, right? So they had volunteers from all over the place, from the different tertiary institutions, the universities, the polys, all the different volunteers, they will come to St. Gabriel's, right, to spend 2 nights, a 3-day, 2 nights camp with the intellectually disabled. And typically these participants, this is the only time in their entire year when they will be able to spend 1 or 2 nights outside of their home because they need close supervision, right? So as a student leader in the school, I was naturally part of this organizing committee, right? To host these people from all over the place at St. Gabriel's, to host these people with intellectual disabilities. So at that time, I met up with one volunteer. Her name is Dawn. Shout out to Dawn if you're listening to this. Her name is Dawn, and she was a year 2 medicine student, right? And as a boy from St. Gabriel's, we were from a neighborhood school, I was quite amazed because, yes, here I am talking to somebody who's going to be a doctor in the future, right? To a young secondary 4 student, this is something that is really admirable. So she was telling me she was from National Junior College, and she was telling me that she's from the canoe and dragon boat team in National Junior College. She graduated from there. And so a name came out, right? And that name was called Mr. Yong. Mr. Yong is one of the legendary canoe coaches in Singapore, right? And because of his outlook towards training and discipline, at that time, NJC was champions for canoeing 6 years in a row.
Wow.
So she was telling me about how she was from that team and where did I want to go after O levels? Do I want to, go to the typical JCs that we go, like SA or CJC, or am I looking at some other JCs like NJC? So to me, it was like, wow, NJ is the top 5 JC in Singapore. Typically, from our cohort, every cohort there's about 5 students who make it to the top 5 JC. So to me, it was like a little fantasy. But hey, I decided, why not? Right? She seemed genuine. She seemed to have a path for me to go to NJC. And the way was through canoeing. Right? So what happened was, after this episode, she actually linked me up with the NJC canoe and dragon boat team. Right? To put some context for you, they train up to 14 times a week.
14 times a week?
Yes.
Holy
that is the
shit.
price of being a champion.
Wow.
Right? So typically, I think you would know that there is a first 3 months thing in JC. I think your batch was the same, right? So first 3 months is based on your preliminary score, right? Your prelim score. Subsequently, based on your actual O-level score, right? You're posted to a JC based on that. So of course, in my first 3 months, they call it the JAE period, Joint Admissions Exercise, right? Or PAE. I think that's PAE, Provisional Admission Exercise. First 3 months, I was posted to CJC. But at the same time, I was also training with NJC because my desired outcome was I want to appeal into NJC through canoeing, right? Even though I had no canoe experience. But this was the special thing about Mr. Young, because he looked out for your attitude rather than your talent. So even though I had no canoeing or dragon boat experience at all, he said, come and train with us. We'll try to appeal you into NJC through canoeing. So it went on for 3 months. I was studying at CJC. In the mornings, I would do the land program for the NJ canoeing teams, which means I go to the track, do my own push-ups, sit-ups, running and everything. Subsequently, I had lessons at CJC. Lessons finished at about 3 to 4 p.m. I'll go to MacRitchie Reservoir, join the NJC team for training for the first 3 months, in hopes of me going into NJC through canoeing.
Wow.
And so it passed that when the decision came for the school to accept me, for NJ to accept me, they decided to accept me through canoeing to go into NJC.
Wow.
I think that was a very pivotal moment of my life, because in terms of what followed after that, it was 2 years of extreme discipline, extreme consistency. To put it in some context for you, Rash, I stayed at Aljunied. Aljunied is in the east of Singapore.
Yes.
National Junior College is in the west of Singapore. Our training start at 6:30 a.m. Every morning.
Wow.
So I had to leave house at 5:50 a.m. for the first bus to go to NJC, to reach there by 6:30. Our morning training starts. It ends about 7:15. We change up. Morning assembly starts at 7:30.
Yes.
We study until 3 to 4 p.m. Then we take the bus to MacRitchie Reservoir, water training for 2 to 3 hours to about 6 to 7 p.m. Debrief, dinner. I take the bus back to Aljunied. It's back to about 9 to 10 p.m.
Wow.
Homework, and then sleep. This went on for about 2 years. But at the end of 2 years, Rash, Singapore sent its first ever dragon boating team to the Olympics of Dragon Boat, right? It's called the World Dragon Boat Racing Championship. And during that event, we actually took home the world title.
Wow. You selected for the competition?
Absolutely. So the team was made up of 95% NJC canoeists and 5% from Hwa Chong, because there were not enough quality canoeists, right? So it was basically a youth squad that comprised majority from National Junior College.
Wow.
Because as canoeists ourselves, we will be very strong on the water.
Yep.
So when canoeists, you put a canoeist, like 20 canoeists on a dragon boat, the dragon boat flies. And that year we knew that we have a very strong team. Of course, there's sacrifices for the 2 years that led up to that. But yes, those sacrifices paid off.
Good.
And I think a very defining moment of my life was when I saw Singapore on the board.
Wow.
Singapore 1, China 2.
Wow.
And the difference was 0.4 seconds.
Shit.
So Rash, that is that 2 years of grit that really
Dude,
taught me
talk
about
to me
life.
about how fit were you, man? Dude, how many pull-ups could you bang out? What was it, 2.4? Like, dude, tell me, man.
So Rash, my personal best in JC during my peak, my 2.4 timing was 8 minutes and 22 seconds. And the pull-ups was 30 to 35. I can't remember the exact number, but yes.
Holy shit, bro.
Those were the peak times.
Wow.
Yes, those were good times.
Peak fitness, huh?
Absolutely.
Peak fitness, peak resilience, peak everything, huh?
And peak mentality. Because we were juggling studies. Ultimately, we're JC students. We need to study for our A levels. We're juggling studies together with our sports pursuits. And that was for the glory of Singapore. So, to be honest, those 2 years taught me the art of balancing. It also taught me the art of staying consistent and having the grit to push through with whatever plan we follow. And that means repeating a lot of mundane tasks daily, right? Knowing that there's a bigger picture in mind.
Wow, wow, wow. Which year did you win the World Championship again?
This was in 2009.
2009, huh? Wow, incredible, bro. So happy for you, right? Dude, I want to ask you a question, right? So, obviously you have to build up individual strength. But dragon boating, in NJC, it's also a team sport, pretty much, right? So, what about a team did you learn? A championship winning team?
Okay. So, wow, this is a very good question, Resh. So, you see, we were all individual canoeists, right? I think one thing that I remember my coach always told me, right? His name is Mr. Yong Yuan Cheng. Everyone has to pull your own weight in the dragon boat, right? Pull your own weight, not just physically, because as students, we also had to balance against our studies, which means we don't want the sports to be so good and then your studies, you're failing. So I think one distinctive thing that I remember that taught us a lot about teamwork is he ensured that every one of us had to do well in our studies. If we didn't do well in our studies, for example, you fail a certain subject, you are prevented from training.
Wow.
So he stops you from training, and because you stop training, you will also affect the whole strength of the dragon boat. So there's a sort of peer pressure there.
Wow.
Right? So yes, in terms of teamwork, not just in terms of brute force, but yes, in terms of applying these to other aspects of your life, other aspects of studies, your well-being, right? So I guess to answer your question about teamwork, I remember a point in our training years, right, in NJC, where 10 of us, we did sub-9 of 2.4 together, right? And that was an amazing feat, I think, because again, a lot of them were like me. They had no canoeing background. In fact, most of the guys, I remember there were people from band, like the symphony band. They had one that was from dance club in secondary school, and there was some from NCC, right? So that taught me so much, especially when you have each other pushing you every day, not just in terms of sports and fitness, but in terms of studies, right? And when you can achieve this level of teamwork, when you can achieve this level of self-responsibility for the larger team purpose, I think this can apply to many aspects of our life, even up to today.
Incredible, man, incredible, dude. Like, that's really the championship winning mindset, literally, right? So you were blessed enough to be privileged to be part of the team, a championship winning team at peak physical height. That's amazing. So how was army for you, bro? Like I assume.
So Resh, army was to be honest, was quite a breeze. So I was best PT. During my BMT days.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Subsequently, I was interviewed for a very specialized position called the Recce.
Okay.
Right. So it's like the Scouts Reconnaissance Unit. So I wouldn't delve into too much there, but suffice to say, the Recce Commander course, it's something that is quite renowned in the SAF, right? In terms of its mental toughness and physical toughness of the whole course. I would say two aspects of army, right? In the Recce unit that I think stood out for me. In a Recce unit, you need to have two qualities. Number one, you need to be able to work solo because you need to be able to be in a position for a long time to observe enemy activities, right? And number two, you need to have endurance, physical endurance. Again, it comes down to the fact that you are in outfield for a long period of time, right? So I think these qualities were very well trained back in my national team days, right? So army, to be honest, was quite a breeze for me.
Yeah. So you really breezed through that, huh? But what were your aspirations then, right? So following army and everything, was it to be a full-time sportsman? Did you want to make money? Like what was it at 21, 22 years old once you ORD'd, right? What do you want to do? Or do you want to travel?
Right. So, Resh, when I came out of army, right, to be honest, at that point of time, I did not want to go to university.
You didn't want to go to university?
Yes, because during my army days, I was already giving tuition.
Yep.
and it was giving me quite a healthy income for an army boy, you know. You're drawing about 4 to 5K just by tuition alone.
As in you could do it.
Because when I booked out on the weekends, I packed my Saturdays and Sundays with tuition.
Wow.
Right? So, and I was riding a motorbike. And at that point of time, besides tuition, I was also buying and selling motorbikes.
Wow.
So I was doing motorcycle trading.
Interesting.
So that gave me quite a good income.
Okay.
Right? And to be honest, at that point of time, I was nearly not going to pursue my university studies. But you know, just like every Asian kid,
Yes.
they want to fulfill their parents' aspiration. I told myself, this is the last time I'm going to do something that to fulfill my Asian obligations. So I decided to take a degree at NUS, right? So I studied real estate at NUS, which focused a lot on property development, investments, urban planning, valuation, and such. Yeah.
Wow. And following that, like, so was it real estate? Was the dream real estate? You became an agent?
No, actually, I thought real estate was something that is not overly general, like a business degree.
Sure.
Right? So after I came out of army, I actually went on some solo trips to find myself.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Find
Tell me
myself.
about that, yeah.
I looked at the map, right? I wanted some place that wasn't too far. That was first criteria.
Sure.
Number two, some place that was relatively cheap, so I
Okay.
can stretch my buck.
Yep.
Right? And number three, I want somewhere with an interesting history. And when I looked at the map, Vietnam came out as a very interesting place, right? Because it has a very unique history. It was the Chinese, followed by the French, followed by the Americans. They were the first Southeast Asian country to defeat world power, right? America in the Vietnam War, right? So I decided, okay, let's do Vietnam. So I decided to, I flew into Hanoi. I bought a ticket to Hanoi, and in between that, I bought another return ticket from Ho Chi Minh City. From some context, Hanoi is in the north, Ho Chi Minh City is in the south. So I told myself I had 1 month to make it from the north, which is Hanoi, to Ho Chi Minh City. So I bought a motorbike, $400 in the north. And I rode it all the way to the south, Ho Chi Minh City. So I made it in 1 month, right? But you know, that trip, I didn't know any Vietnamese. It was a totally new country to me.
Okay.
That sparked a lot of interest in that country for me.
Sure.
So when I came back, university started.
Yes.
I decided, hey, on top of my degree, the university offers language programs too.
Okay.
Right? So for example, you want to take Korean, Indonesian, Japanese, and they do it in a quite academic setting. So it's not just conversational, right? It's a proper language program. So they had number 1 to number 6, right? So for example, Japanese 1 to Japanese 6. For me, of course, it's Vietnamese 1 to Vietnamese 6. When I joined the program, Vietnamese 1, there was like about 60 people, right? You know, all like, oh, I want to learn some Vietnamese, xin chào, you know? By the time I reached Vietnamese 6, 3 years later, there were 2 of us.
Wow.
Right? So,
All dropped out, huh?
yeah, because as you get to the higher level, you really need to have some kind of interest and also have some kind of grit to finish the whole program. So, but yes, when you had that level of teaching, because at Viet 6, it was only 2 of us, we learned a lot because it was almost like private tuition.
Oh, bro, so you have the highest level of competence in Vietnamese?
I would say so.
Wow. For real? I thought it was just Xin Chao. How are you? No.
Yeah, so Resh,
Wow.
I do know a little bit of Vietnamese.
Okay.
Right? And because of that, at the end of year 2, CapitaLand, right? CapitaLand has many different departments under them, right?
Yeah.
They have the residential, office, commercial, shopping malls. The Ascott Limited, which is a service residence arm of CapitaLand, they actually gave me a scholarship because they wanted to expand their footprints in Vietnam. So they sponsored my year 3 and year 4 of university, which means after I graduated from university, I worked with them for 2 years. Yeah, in a corporate setting, I was a management trainee. I was rotating between different departments. So I was at operations, right? So, you know, all the different functions, engineering, housekeeping, receptionist, all that. I had a stint at strategic projects, right? Looking at some of the projects that CapitaLand wanted to roll out. And of course, I had another stint in Vietnam, naturally, doing business development there.
Wow. Yeah. So, dude, bring us forward, brother. Like, financial advisory, how did that come around? Like, at what point do you decide, I want to take the leap of faith to be self-employed, to do this thing?
Great. So when I was in Vietnam, right, that was my final stint with the Ascott Limited. That point, I was doing business development. What does it mean? So Ascott Limited they manage a building for you, right? For example, you talk to a building owner, let Escort manage this for you, we'll take a certain percentage of the profit margin, right? So my role there was basically to talk to building owners. Typically, they are the upper strata of society, right? Entertain them and say, hey, let Escort manage this for you. So there was a lot of entertainment, drinking in particular. That was a work culture in Vietnam, right? Pretty similar to China. So I remember there were sessions that we start drinking at 7 p.m. And end at 12 midnight.
Wow.
And it was just shots after shots of Martell or Chivas, right? And I think at that point, that was when it hit me. Can I be in a corporate setting like this for the rest of my life? I think this kind of lifestyle of drinking and entertaining, my liver will definitely take a hit.
For sure, bro.
Yes.
It did. Okay.
So that was when the first thoughts come in, Can I do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So when my bond ended, right, with my final stint in Vietnam, I decided, okay, I needed to do something with my life, especially at that point of time, I'm still young. I think I was only 26, 27, right? I needed to try something different. So I came back, I rested for a while, and I linked up with my friend Elijah. He's the owner of Elijah Pies, right? At that point of time, he was already in his Elijah Pies business, doing pretty well, okay? And he was renting this place, a baking studio. So I decided, hey, I want to help you out, just to pass time. I just want to take some time. I just left my corporate job before I transit to another position. Let me just help you deliveries, bake some pies, whichever it is. So I helped him out. So at the studio that he was at, right? Previously it was called Butter and Bake. So eventually the owner was conducting team building classes, corporate team building classes, right? She did it out of a small setting, very small sessions. So me and Elijah, one fine day, we heard that she wanted to stop that business, right? So we decided, hey, why not? Let's go and revamp this whole business. Let's do it. Let's make it our project. So that was the start of Baker's Origin, right? Baker's Origin was founded about in 2018, right? And we focused on corporate team building. So Elijah was the one that taught the participants how to bake the pies. I was the PR and the HR and the BD person, right? So it went quite well, to be honest with you. We were on GBIS with the government procurement portal.
Sure.
So a lot of companies like from the Attorney General's Chambers, MOE, they came to our studio at Crawford Lane to do team building classes.
Sure.
Right? A typical setting is maybe like 30 packs. We break them up into 6 groups of 5. Right? Everyone is tasked with baking a certain item. Right? And then we'll play some games along the way.
Sure.
The main point was team bonding.
Okay.
So it went on for 1 year. Then COVID hit.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And when COVID hit, we are a business that focuses on bringing people together.
So
when people cannot gather, we can't.
Yeah.
So we decided to change strategy, right? To hands party, bachelorette parties.
Oh, wow.
Right? Then yes, it was a nice time, but very, very small groups.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, it doesn't really make sense.
No financial sense.
That's right. But yes, our first year profits were able to sustain us for the next 2 years of almost no business or just small hands party classes.
Wow.
Right? So until eventually we decided, okay, I think maybe it's time to move on, right? But to answer your question, back when I was doing Baker's Origin, right, towards the end of it, I decided, hey, why not take up a property agent license? Because I was from NUS Real Estate.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have to take the papers.
Okay.
So why not just take the license, the CEA, license, just and try it out. So there I was. I went to be a property agent and it was close to a year. Did not too bad, I would say. In terms of property, the market in Singapore is very dynamic and it's very buoyant and there's a lot of activity and there still continues to be a lot of activity.
Yep.
I guess your question would be, what made the switch from property, or why the switch from property to wealth management?
Sure.
Right? So in property, every house is different, which means sometimes the sales cycle is also different. The sales cycle is longer because you can bring a client to view 20 houses. It might not be satisfactory because maybe this house, the facing not good, the other house, the windows not nice, this one, the layout not good, right? So the sales cycle is longer. So I think in 2021, I linked up with a friend, right? He was doing, he was in the insurance line, right? And his business model was very different. Or rather, his group's business model was very different. His group's business model was door knocking and cold calling.
Wow.
And basically, it's a brute force method, right? You just call X number of calls equals X number of appointments, X number of appointments, X number of closing, right? And that one really didn't require much of expertise. You just need to be very disciplined. So I decided, hey, at that point of time, I wanted to buy a house. I wanted the cash flow in fast, right? Rather than in a property line where sometimes the sales cycle can be very long.
Yeah, 6 months sometimes.
So I decided to take a leap of faith. I joined my friend, right, in that company. So we are doing purely cold calling. Every day, I did about 200 to 300 cold calls.
Wow.
Right? In the morning, about 1.5 hours. In the afternoon, about 2 hours. And all the appointments were set at night. So this was my typical day. Cold call in the morning, afternoon, at night is all the appointments. Typically, every night we target for about 4 to 5 appointments because you might not close all.
On Zoom or what, bro?
No, face to face.
Face to face, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I packed it all the way from 6 p.m., 1 hour by 1 hour, right? So about 4 to 5. So it went on for 1 year. But, you know, in that 1 year of doing that, I hit MDRT.
Wow.
Just by doing cold call.
Wow.
But it was very crazy because the hustle was on, man. It was every day,
Wow.
meet the clients at night, do it, close. So that was what went on in my life for
Crazy.
close to a year.
Dude, you are very used to doing the same mundane things again and again. Huh?
I think that the years in canoeing and dragon boating taught me the power of small, consistent action, right? Because I have this phrase which I hold very dear to me, right? And for the sake of our audience, let me face them and talk it to them, right? Consistency will not guarantee you success, but not being consistent will guarantee you won't succeed, right? So this is one phrase that I really hold dear to me. And I see a lot of top sports people, top business people, that consistency is key. And I try to inculcate it in my daily life. Yeah.
Incredible, bro, incredible. So that's the seeds of, you know, what it takes to really succeed. Huh? So that was the first year, and then you moved on to another firm, and you know, and what was the change to get you from 1 to 6, bro? Right? Like that's a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So what was the bro, you know my question.
Great. So, Resh, let's say I put maybe a person, right? Let's say I put you in a 7-Eleven versus I put you in a Porsche showroom. You put in the same amount of effort and work. Maybe every day you work 8 hours, right? In a 7-Eleven versus every day you work 8 hours in a Porsche showroom. Which one do you think will bring you more money at the end of the day?
Porsche, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's your environment, right? Because in my environment, the items that I'm closing every day is very small, right?
Previously?
Absolutely.
Okay.
During my cold call days, right? That's why we need quantity. I need to meet like 4 or 5 people every day just to be able to hit MDRT, right? So I guess at a point of my life, I decided, okay, I need to move on to more high value items.
Higher value items.
Absolutely. And I needed to have more value, which means I needed to have clients who are coming to me for certain expertise and certain knowledge, right? So I decided to upskill, and I decided, okay, I needed to find a new place to go, right? That's when I linked up with my buddy Eddie, right? We decided, okay, why not? Let's find a new place to set up our home base, which we did in September of 2022, which is just 1 year back, right? We decided to set up a new base, right, to do business, focusing on retirement planning, right? And of course, our clientele is more towards the mass affluent already. So there you go, the shift from that 7-Eleven, which I was in,
To Porsche.
to the Porsche showroom,
Wow.
right? I think that is the key factor that allowed me to almost 6 times my income, right?
You want to make money, you go from 7-Eleven to Porsche.
There you go. But Rash, I think a lot of this also boils down to your willingness to learn new things and get out of your comfort zone.
But dude, everybody wants to work in the high net worth market. But not everybody succeeds. What separates the best from the rest?
Absolutely. So Rash, I'm going to sum this up to you in DCA.
Tell me, man, what's DCA?
What is DCA to you, Rash?
Dollar cost averaging, brother.
Absolutely. So this is, I think, what most wealth managers want you to adhere to, right? Because it is indeed a proven method.
Yep.
Dollar cost averaging. So buying in irregardless of the market condition.
Yes,
so in the long term, your investments will see that capital appreciation. But Resh, my DCA is slightly different.
Tell me.
Because my DCA is discipline, consistency, and attitude.
Wow.
Right? And I think if you can do these three things very well, there is nothing to stop you from succeeding, not just in going to the high net worth market, but in every aspect of your life. Right? So let's look at D. Right? The first thing is discipline. I think my story to you for my canoeing days, right? It shows that discipline, as long as you have discipline and the discipline mentality to follow through with your plan, you can't do too badly. To put it in context for you, China has a population of 1/billion people.
Absolutely. Man.
Singapore has a population of 5 million.
Yeah.
We won China,
Wow.
right? Through pure discipline and grit, right? Secondly, in terms of C, consistency, right? Now, Resh, there's a reason why I brought this toilet paper here to show you today, okay? To put it in some context for the viewers, this is a 5-layer embossed feather pattern individually packed toilet paper.
Dude, I want to wipe my ass with it, man.
There you go. This is a gift for you. But
Oh, this is for me, bro.
Yes, Resh.
Wow, thank you so much, brother.
behind this, I want to tell a story about this toilet paper.
Sure.
Right? Because I think this toilet paper epitomizes what consistency is. Okay? We see this in our toilets every day. Right? And at the end of 1 week, 2 weeks, or maybe 1 month, we will see an empty toilet roll. Everybody sees it, right?
Yep.
Some people take 2 weeks to finish a toilet roll. Some people take 1 month. Some people take 2 months. I think that is very similar to life, sales, and ourselves. How fast do you want to achieve your goals? Do you want to achieve it in 2 weeks? Do you want to achieve it in 1 month? Do you want to achieve it in 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years? Right? At the end of the day, when you are in the toilet doing your thing, when you're pulling the toilet paper, nobody sees these actions. Right? Nobody sees your silent actions every day, right? Or pulling the toilet paper. But at the end of 2 weeks or 1 month, we see that some people finish it faster. Why? Because of all the silent actions that goes on behind the scene. I think this is consistency.
Bro, where do you come up with this energy, man? Taking a shit and you come up with this energy. What the hell, man?
I think we need daily reminders,
Okay.
right? To remind ourselves to be consistent in our life, consistent with our goals, and consistent in the effort we put in to achieve what we want to achieve.
Holy shit, man.
Right?
Dude, my shits are never going to be the same again.
Absolutely, Resh. So every time you shit, look at the toilet paper.
Sure, bro.
How fast do you want to achieve your goals, Resh? I mean, you are already a very established and a reputable investor yourself,
Yes, yes.
right? I'm sure you have bigger goals, right? I'm sure you have other goals that you are aiming for in life, right?
Yep.
How fast do we want to achieve them, right? How fast do you want to finish that toilet roll? I think that is something that we can take away from a humble toilet roll like this.
Interesting. And attitude, tell me about attitude.
So attitude, Resh.
Yeah.
I'm in the sales industry.
Yep.
And of course, sales industry, naturally, it is an industry of rejection,
Absolutely.
right? No doubt about that. Now, I think what defines a champion salesperson is how they are able to overcome these rejections, not just fast, but effectively and move on. Because in this industry, you need to have conversations with people. But if you're affected by every rejection, you take it personally, that's when you take a longer time to recover, which means the next prospect that you're going to talk to, you're going to take a longer time, which means you're going to take a longer time to achieve your goals because you need activities. Activity leads and gains follow, right? So in terms of attitude, right, I want to share 3 tips on how I maintain this bulletproof mentality as well as a mentality that is positive consistently and as well as to do this very effectively, okay? First is called anchoring, okay? I'm pretty sure you might have heard of this. So Jordan Belfort in his book, right? I believe it's called...
Straight line.
No. So Jordan Belfort is one of his books, right? He uses a technique called olfactory anchoring.
Yes.
Which means every time he feels negativity or he wants to be positive again, he sniffs a certain scent,
Oh, shit, man.
right? He sniffs a scent, it knocks him out of negativity, he moves on, right? For me, I definitely it to be slightly different.
Yeah.
I use something called appetite anchoring.
Appetite anchoring.
Yeah, because I love food, right?
Okay.
Go for a nice food.
Okay.
Right? Go and have a feast. Right? Go and have a buffet by yourself. Just go and wall up the whole thing. Right? Go and load up the good carbs and good proteins.
Don't know whether it's good advice for people who are a little bit bigger, but sure, continue.
Yeah, so I do appetite anchoring. Whenever I'm negative, I go and have a good meal.
Okay.
I mean, for the audience out there, it can be anything.
It can be a workout.
Yes, it can be a
run.
workout. It can be go and have some good sex. You know, it can be anything you want, right? But yes, associate that activity with positivity, so that whenever negativity starts to creep in, you do that activity to anchor your mind in a positive zone again, right? So that is the first thing, anchoring. Number two is what I call relative circumstance.
Okay.
Now, what does relative circumstance mean, right? So, whenever I'm feeling negative, I think of something worse that can happen to me. So, for example, I imagine to myself that the doctor just told me, hey, Shing, you have 5 days left to live because now you have stage 4 stomach cancer. Will my rejection and my current negative scenario matter so much to me? I don't think so. Right? So when you imagine something worse, your current problems is nothing compared to that. Right? So this is what I imagine to myself. Of course, it takes some creativity, right? And also you need to visualize it very properly to do a proper relative circumstance scenario. For me, I use health, right, as that scenario. Okay? So this is number 2, relative circumstance. Number 3, if the first 2 doesn't help, I usually escalate to the final one, right? Which is called physical pain.
Shoot.
Yeah. No, I don't cut myself, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yes, physical pain, right? I imagine myself in physical pain. What kind of physical pain? Not just the gym kind of physical pain. I imagine myself in a scene from a movie. Okay? You may or may not know this movie, but let me explain the scene to you.
50 Shades of Grey.
No, something more gory, bro.
Okay, sure, bro.
So, there is the bad guy, there is the good guy.
Yeah.
The bad guy trapped the good guy in a room.
Okay.
Okay? Now, this room, in 1 minute time, the oxygen will cut off.
Oh, shit.
The good guy will definitely die. Right? Now, how can a good guy free himself from the room? In the room, there is a hole in a pit. In the pit, there's like 10,000 injection needles. Inside that pit is where the key is to the door to escape.
Okay.
So this guy, either you wait 1 minute, the oxygen run out, you die, or you take that 1 minute to go and dig inside the pit and find the key to unlock the door. Right? I imagine myself as the good person trying to find the key, and all the injection needles are stuck in me and I'm digging through the key. You see, that is the expression I want to see. When you cringe like this, then you suddenly, my rejection is nothing. Client reject me, it's okay. You know? So yes, I escalate to physical pain and that imagination when I think that the first 2 things doesn't help. Right? So these are the 3 methods I do to keep my mind tip-top, to keep it resilient, and to keep it positive, which I think are which I think is very important in a sales line like ours, because the morale, the motivation has to be tip-top at any moment, right? When you speak to the client, they can see it because they want to see the confidence, they want to see the positivity, right? And they want to see that someone that is very comfortable and knows his stuff, right? So we try to get rid of negativity, or rather I try to get rid of negativity, and these are the 3 things that I use to snap me out of that.
Incredible.
Hey guys, Shing here. If you want to find out how this humble toilet roll can help you to succeed in all areas of your life, stay tuned.
Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It's been an amazing episode. Now let's get back to it. All right, so dude, I really appreciate that, man. Seriously, the whole idea of anchoring yourself, right? Making yourself change state, making yourself feel that pain and all that stuff. These are all very actionable things people can actually take away. So I want to ask you, brother, what is your vision for your life? What do you want to achieve? Tell me about that.
All right. So Resh, I want to spend my life living, not working. So a goal that I set for myself, right, is actually I want to achieve financial independence by the time I'm 35 or 36 latest.
What is financial independence to you?
To me, financial independence means not being able to working because I want to, not because I need to.
Okay.
Which means I will need passive income sources, right, that is already coming in. right? So yes, this is what I'm aspiring to achieve. Now, there needs to be a certain period of sacrifice, right, in life. I take that as the period now, right? Because I really believe that if you can stay focused for a couple of years, these couple of years can really set you up for life. Just like where I am now in life, right? Because of my current level of activity in my sales, and also in terms of my clients that I have, a lot of them are giving me very passive referrals. And this is the holy grail for every financial advisor out there. Because with a very strong referral system, right? For me, it's a matter of just following up with clients. I don't really have to prospect or find new clients anymore, right? But yes, I have been through my own set of learning curve, my own set of struggles, because I typically do not go for warm market. In our context, it means I typically do not want to approach friends and family and all that, right? So my journey to TOT actually started from all cold leads, right? So we have certain channels of marketing, right? And all my clients started out cold. So as of this moment, of course, the cold clients have already become my warm clients, right? And when you have a very strong and consistent and stable set of warm clients, naturally, these become referral channels, right? To expand your business. So in the next few years, this is what I foresee is going to happen for me in terms of servicing my current clients, as well as servicing the referrals that they are going to give to me. And I think in the industry that I am, I'm very thankful that it gives me a lot of flexibility of time, right? And I really treasure this a lot because when I think back of my previous days working with in a corporate setting, 9 to 6, you definitely have to be in the office. Yeah. And it is scary when you continue to use this 9 to 6 mentality, but now you are in your own business, right? The motivation is much more. And in this 9 to 6 setting, you are no longer working for someone else. I'm working for myself, right? How much effort I want to put in is entirely up to me. How much I want to DCA my life is entirely up to me, right? And I think this freedom comes with responsibility, and this responsibility I don't take lightly, because this is a responsibility to myself and to my own life, right? Which I told you, I want to spend my life living, not working.
Incredible, bro. 35, you're done.
35, 36, give me some time, Rash.
Okay, time for you to catch up, bro. But dude, so tell us about some stories, bro.
Yeah.
You've been to some interesting places. Palestine, West Bank, and all that. Give us 1 or 2 interesting stories about that.
Okay, so maybe I'll share 2 travel experiences that I have.
Sure.
I think one would be India, the other one would be in West Bank. So at the end of year 2 in university, that's when a lot of students, they start to apply for exchange programs, right? For me, I was too lazy to go and submit the forms or that. I didn't see the point of going through so much administration just to go for an exchange program. So I decided to start my own exchange program, means I planned my own, right? So I decided to buy a one-way ticket to India, right? At the point of time, I really just wanted to experience life. I wanted to see outside of this comfort zone of Singapore. So I bought a one-way ticket to Chennai, okay? And with no return ticket. I told myself I wanted to spend 1 month there.
In Chennai?
Yes.
Okay.
So I flew to Chennai, it was hot as hell, it's in the east of India, right? And I said, okay, what's next? Then I decided, okay, next town, people tell me that there's this place called Mysore, not far from Chennai. You need to take a train. So I went to the train station. Foreigner, everything is in Tamil, right? Or whichever dialect that was in that part of India. So I followed the queue. Later did I know that queue was actually for the common class tickets, which means the lowest of the lowest.
Wow.
Right? So imagine my shock when I turned up at the train departure timing, and I realized my ticket is common class, and the whole cabin is filled with people.
Wow.
There were people below the seats, there were below on top the railings.
And you go on there?
Yeah, then there were some people inside. They say, "Oh, foreigner, you in here? Okay." Ask them make the way for me. Then okay, one foreigner, the backpack, go inside, sit beside them. Sit beside there. Wow. Then they were telling me, it was, to be honest, quite intimidating, because I knew at any moment, if things go awry, there's nothing I can do. Right. So yes, whenever there are humans, they can feel. Right? There's empathy. You smile. Some things are universal. universal.
Of course, of course.
So that became a train trip that I will never forget in my life, right? Because throughout the trips, they were offering me things to eat, and then they were talking about their life. So these people, which I think your viewers might have a chance to see the picture on their screens, they travel to the city 2-3 hours every day just to work, earn some money, go to the village, go back to the village, right? I think that was one point of my life that I realized how lucky I was. Just the fact that we are born in Singapore, right? Just the fact that we are born in this part of the world, right? Where we have relative comfort, we have shelter, food, right? It's already a huge blessing. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yes, India was one of the defining trips for me because after that experience, I actually spent 1 month in India, from the east to Mysore, Coimbatore, and then to the south, Kerala, right? And then to Mumbai, and then to Rishikesh, which is where all the ashrams are at.
Yes, yes, yes.
That 1 month, I think it taught me another perspective of life, right?
The beauty of traveling, huh?
Absolutely, it widens your perspectives. It teaches you about people, life, food, and it gives you a new experience, which I really encourage Singaporeans to do that. You know, not just to your typical travel locations like go for Bali for a holiday, but yes, trips like these help you to find another dimension of yourself, which I never really thought I would have.
Incredible.
Right? And it helps you to be very adaptable to a new country.
Tell me about West Bank, bro.
So West Bank was at the end of my university when I decided to go for a graduation trip. Right? I had a buddy of mine, his name is called Ronald. Ronald was studying Arabic. So he was actually sent from the Singapore university that he was at on an exchange program to the University of Jordan. For some context, Jordan is beside West Bank.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
So, you know, I went to visit him in Jordan and decided, okay, why not? Let's combine balls to go to West Bank together, right? Because he's fluent in Arabic.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go because I want to see what's happening in that part of the world, right? Because in Jerusalem, right, it's a center for 4 major religions. The Temple Mount, Al-Aqsa area, right? It's sacred to the Jewish, the Christians, the Armenians, as well as the Muslims. So as you know, Jerusalem is split out into 4 quarters, right? So that part was quite eye-opening for me because again, it taught me about not to take the religious and political stability that we have in Singapore for granted. But I think what was more interesting for me is where we decided to cross into West Bank, right, in Palestine. We went to places like Ramallah, deep into West Bank. So at that time, I even memorized the Fatiha because at certain parts of the West Bank, you actually saw the ISIS flag.
No, seriously.
Right? So I memorized the Fatiha just to be safe and so that I could access the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Because at that time, the IDF, which is Israeli Defense Force, actually closed up the areas to non-Muslims. It was during Ramadan. But I was there already. I cannot skip the chance to see the Al-Aqsa and the Temple Mount and everything, right? So because of that, I memorized the Fatiha, right? So it's, let me just give you a sneak peek.
Sure, bro.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in.
Wow.
Okay? I'll leave the rest for next time.
Wow. Wow.
So yes, we spent 2 weeks in West Bank.
Wow.
Many crazy experiences, and it was during the fasting month. So I remember on the day that I was in Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? It was the final day of Ramadan, which means Muslims will spend the whole night praying. And when we were there, we couldn't extract ourselves because it started getting very crowded. And it would be very weird if we were to walk out in the middle of that prayer. So we spent 6 hours at the top there, repeating the whole motions, right? But it was, I have to say, it was quite a spiritual experience for me.
Wow.
Because yes, I put myself into the shoes of someone who's practicing. And yeah, when you are in such a historic place, biblical place, right, a very sacred place, you do feel a certain sense of emotion when you're there.
Wow.
Yes.
Incredible, man. Wow. Amazing, right? Again, these trips really change your perspective, make you think, and in light of everything that's going on right now, right? How blessed we are to be where we are currently right now.
Absolutely,
with all this peace and prosperity that we have as well. You know, incredible. Right, so Shing, you know, to end off the interview, it's been an amazing time. You know, I love your stories. I've been enthralled by everything that you shared, right? But just to end it off, maybe, you know, if you could share one thing, right? What's the one tip you give to a viewer who is thinking like, hey man, I really want to succeed in my life. I want to break through. I want to achieve, the highest ranks, right? Like how can I start? What do I need to do, Shing?
Great. So if I can sum up your question in one sentence, right? It is not the size of a dog in a fight, but the size of a fight in a dog. Now, all of you guys are at different stages of your life. Are you willing to put in the effort to fight for what you want in life? Material goals, health goals, well-being goals, right? And if the size of the fight is strong enough, trust me, you will do everything in your resources, everything in your means to make that happen. And this means finding out who to talk to, learning new skills, right? Being consistent in your day-to-day activities, whichever that is. So yes, Resh, to answer your question, do you have the size of the fight in you, right? To fight for what you want in life.
With them dogs,
nothing comes cheap.
Go.
Nothing comes cheap.
Absolutely.
There is a sacrifice. Are you willing to put in that sacrifice? If you are willing to do so, then you start to change yourself. That's when you see many things around you will start to change and go your way.
All right. Big dogs, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. My man, I loved it so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Make sure you like, you comment below what was your favorite part of this entire conversation. And make sure you subscribe to Modern Wealth Podcast so you see many more amazing guests like Shing, my man. Thank you so much for being here, bro. Till next time.
Wada!